Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's the Winterbeast, Michelle.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm the Winterbeast. It's me.
It's the
January is my shit.
It's the Winterbeast, Michelle.
Yep.
It's
That's me. It's always the Winterbeast,
It's
Michelle.
always the Winterbeast. Holy, you kind of took me by surprise there.
Good.
Yeah. Well. I guess the cat's out of the bag. We're talking about Winterbeast today, guys. No new Shudder original or exclusive for us to talk about this week. And we like to watch movies that are requested by friends of the show when we have a chance to. And we got to speak to Derek Haugen from Had a Bloody Good Time at House Harker a while back, and he suggested that we take a look at this movie, Winterbeast, which I was certain I had seen before, but having literally just finished the film perhaps half an hour ago, what I've determined is that I saw maybe the first 15 to 20 minutes of this movie at least once, but I don't know that I ever actually saw the whole thing, and oh my gosh, do I have some things to say about this movie. Because that's what we do here, guys. And look, you all know, it's right there in the name. We watch Shudder, and then we talk about Shudder. I'm sorry if you could hear my dog barking in the background.
He's really excited about Winterbeast.
Well, he may very well be. I don't know if it's just my roommate or if he's barking at the ghost in the attic again, but he will calm down eventually, or he won't, and there'll just be a dog barking in the background of this entire episode. Michelle, I'm rambling. Save me.
I know. Well, my pets are usually the ones that cause chaos, like when they knock shit off my shelf during Mad God, and I was like, everything just came tumbling towards me. Currently, Pudge, I'm watching her out of the corner of my eye because I know she's planning to just, do something crazy. I don't know, like drive a car through the window or something. So usually my animals are the ones that just have to ruin everything. So it's nice to have that changed up for once and have somebody else's Winterbeast in the mix.
Yeah, I suspect there must be another dog walking by outside.
Oh, how dare they?
I know. It's other dogs are not allowed to. He's a 12-pound dog, right? He's half dachshund, half Yorkshire Terrier. They call it a dorky. That's hilarious. But no, he's this tiny thing. He tries to fight trucks. Like when we go for walks, like normal cars can drive by and he doesn't care. But like if a big fucking F-250 or something, just loud ass diesel work truck comes plowing by, this little son of a bitch just starts losing his mind and tries to run out into the street and fight the truck. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you're not gonna
do it.
You're not gonna win. I mean, it's a mistake.
Just let him try.
It's a mistake he'll only make once, but man, he
got Winterbeast energy.
That's a heavy price to pay. Anyway, I've become infatuated with my mother's dog who came to live with me. It's a whole thing.
Welcome
guys.
to the world of pets.
Oh,
I was gonna say four-legged pets, not rats is the category, the typical household.
This dog is just a giant rat, Michelle. That's all it is. He's just except he's a lot dumber. I'll tell you.
I was about to say.
Oh, I love him, but he's very smart in certain ways, but also he's a dog, right? So
you know what made me feel dumb? This fucking movie.
Let's talk about the movie. Winterbeast.
I would talk about dogs for an hour. I'm fine with it, but Winterbeast.
Let's face it, Michelle. People listen to our show for our personalities, right? We're those kind.
Mine's such a dazzling personality that everybody loves.
I
couldn't get dates in high school.
So we looked at the descriptions like we normally do. The one on Shudder, shocker, is I mean, it's not super spoilery, but it's way too long. But fortunately, IMDb done us good. Michelle, you want to read the description of Winterbeast? I believe it's 19.
To.
Is it 1991 or 1992?
1992, according to IMDb, but it did take a very long time to make, so who knows?
Sure.
1992 is when it was supposedly finished. Okay. People are being killed off near a popular mountain lodge, with the legend claiming that the mountain is haunted by a deadly Native American demonic curse. Winterbeast, 1992, not rated. JD, I would like to hear your thoughts on this first.
My spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah. Yes.
Here's my spoiler-free thoughts on Winterbeast. Winterbeast is a very, very particular flavor of film. Winterbeast is like Stilton cheese, right? Are you familiar with Stilton cheese, Michelle?
I'm familiar with cheese. American Craft Singles in particular. I grew up in a trailer.
Stilton is it's basically the bluest of blue cheeses, right? Like the most extreme sweaty gym sock, just aggressive blue cheese. Now I'm a fan of blue cheese. Are you a fan of blue cheese?
Yes, but I do think it might be too blue, based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
That might be a little too blue.
I kind of peek out right around a Roquefort. I think Roquefort is really good every now and then, but I've tried still. Anyway, so this movie is like the Stilton of indie 80s, ostensibly horror films. This is the kind of movie you watch and your immediate thought is, this is exactly the kind of movie they would talk about on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and then you very quickly find out that close enough it was actually riff tracks. Like, it's that kind of movie, right? This is a movie that is for a very particular type of person, but for that person, this could potentially be the greatest movie of all time. It's so ridiculous, and just like, it's such a chaos film, but there's so much spirit, and like, we're gonna make this fucking movie and finish this shit no matter what it takes. And then it's also just so fucking bizarre on top of it. Like, this movie was a trip, and for me, I'm not, and again, this is all about just my experience, and I will explain what I'm talking about as we dig into the spoilers, but I'm gonna be straight with you. This was a fucking Five Skull experience for me.
Damn it, you're gonna make me put Winterbeast on the website.
I fucking love
in the
this
same
movie.
category as
Michelle,
Mad God.
Michelle, you don't understand. This movie is
God.
so fucking rad. If you're the kind of person who likes this shit, and it's so
and you
great.
do. Okay.
Oh my God. I will explain
the
what
Stilton cheese
on
on the website.
Oh. This
Okay.
movie, this is a glorious tribute to the human spirit. It's incredible.
Would you like to hear my spoiler for
I
that?
absolutely would. I didn't expect to go on quite a tirade in the spoiler free,
But 5.
here we are. Yeah, this was a 5 skull experience for me. I loved every second, every frame of this fucking movie.
We had different experiences with this. I a very confusing experience. So basically, the thing that I can compare it to is when I was in junior high, my English teacher told our class that we were going to read A Tale of Two Cities, and she warned us that it was going to be kind of dense and a little bit hard to follow, and we'd get through it with study guides and things. But then I went into it prepared for this to be difficult, and I wound up completely understanding A Tale of Two Cities. I wound up really enjoying it in a way that I usually don't like classic literature. Shakespeare is way beyond me. A Tale of Two Cities, somehow I got into that, and I felt super smart. This was the opposite, where I thought I would go in and be able to pay attention and pick up things. I am so fucking confused. It was like... It was difficult to watch. I watched for 20 minutes, and I, like, every time I looked away, I'd look up, and now this man had a mustache when 5 seconds ago he didn't. So, like, if I looked away for a second, or I would be like, oh, they were just in the woods, and also I don't know who this guy is. Also, they've swapped shirts for some reason, and so I had to, like, pay attention so much that I had to restart it. And then I realized by paying very close attention with the subtitles that no, my confusion was just as clearly confused the second time around, even though I was very diligently, I tried taking notes. My notes were chaotic. I couldn't even catch up because I'd be writing down a sentence and the scene would change. I fell asleep the first time I watched the last half hour. And then the second time I tried to watch the last half hour because, yes, I tried to watch that twice as well. It's just so much music for so long that it lulled me into a trance, and I have no idea how this movie ended despite watching the ending twice. I'm very confused. I put a lot of effort into my numerical rating, and this one broke me. I don't know what to rate it. Like, it's not a 0. It's absolutely not a 5.
Hell no, it's not a 0. It's absolutely a 5.
It's like putting an algebra textbook into a list of my favorite books. I enjoy algebra, and I was the weird nerd kid who did the practice exams in the back of the... But, like, if I'm putting that in my bookcase, like, does the algebra textbook deserve to be by, like, the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson and my autographed book? No, it does not. But I guess it can be in the bookcase. So I'm going to go with a 1 point. No,
Get
actually, I'm
outta
going to give it.
here.
Hang on. No, I'm going to give it a 2. But the thing is, I just liked analyzing it and being like, they did all of this wrong. And to me, as a nerd, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed being like, wow, why did they switch to this perspective? Why is this shot lingering for so long? They haven't moved at all. It's not a tense moment. They're not trying to build up the anticipation, but yet they still haven't moved in a very long time. So watching how they did literally everything different from how filmmaking says that you're supposed to do it, that was entertaining. It was a challenge. I am very fucking confused. Reading the IMDb description gave me way more information than I got from the actual movie. I have no idea what the Winterbeast is because there's 12 different monsters in this goddamn thing. I might actually be the Winterbeast for all I fucking know. I'm just going to go with a 2, and this will haunt my dreams forever.
Oh, all right. Fair enough, Michelle. And again, I think if I'm being fair, the logical flip side of what I said earlier, which is if this movie is for you, it will really be for you. The natural flip side of that is if it's not for you, it's probably really not gonna be for you. But
it hurt my head.
Oh, I had so much
so
fun. It's so dumb and so, but it's so. Just like somebody was like, no, man, I'm going to make this fucking movie no matter how long it takes, no matter how many different cameras I got to use, no matter how many. You talked about how the guy, sometimes he's got a big, full, bushy mustache. Sometimes he's got just like a pencil-thin afternoon growth. I'm not even convinced, Michelle, that character was played by only one actor. I think that character is
I think it
at
was
least
two
two,
people.
maybe 3 people. pull it.
Yeah, because they kept being like, who's this guy? He's wearing the same clothes as the other guy.
But
at the same time, they're all swapping out the same shirts.
Yeah,
I'm wearing buffalo plaid right now because they only had 3 shirts, a red, a yellow, and a blue one, all in buffalo plaid, and they just kept swapping them around. At one point, they cut the arms off of the yellow one, so then it became a vest for the rest of the movie. So people were just wearing a yellow buffalo plaid vest. I'm so confused.
But I love so much how that's what this movie is, right? That's some people who just really wanted to make a movie and happened to have access to a couple of really bare bones 8mm and 16mm film cameras, and it's there are also things about it as we get into, and we got to get into the spoiler section here.
We should just get into spoilers.
Here you go.
We're halfway through
look, go. I encourage you to go watch this movie before we spoil a bunch of this stuff for you, because I do want to talk about a lot of stuff in this movie in detail. One thing I do want to say before you do go watch the movie, if you are going to watch it, something we do, I think, have to point out, because of the time in which this was made, and that's there is some kind of insensitivity, shall we say, towards Native American cultures in this. There are some, and it's very much that type of story, similar to like a Pet Cemetery or something, where there's a native metaphysical or spiritual element involved there. I don't think.
But don't worry, because if you think that they're going to actually encroach on Native American culture, no, this is shit that they thought up and then put together and went, blame the Native Americans for this monstrosity of claymation. So don't worry if you're worried that they're going to actually take like Native American cultures or traditions. No, they invent shit. I don't know what the fuck I was looking at. The one claymation head that gets very squishy and is just screaming for 2 minutes. So don't worry. There's no like Wendigos or anything like that. The actual cool monsters and entities are not in this.
Right.
There is a lot of claymation. I do think a totem pole does come to life potentially.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when it goes back to just being a totem pole, it's also, this is the spoiler section, guys. We're just already in it. If you didn't catch on to that, I'm sorry. But the totem pole also is then dressed up with looks like a picked over by vultures, mostly meatless skeleton corpse of a human being, almost in a similar fashion to the weird corpse art at the beginning of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's one of the very first really interesting comparisons and references that I'm going to talk about that's going to drive you insane, Michelle. But the first thing I want to mention, and I want to see how you react, is like, okay, so clearly this movie was this is the definition of independent filmmaking, right? Like, this is just some people who happened upon a couple of cheap film cameras and had some ambition and said, we're going to go make a movie. And they went out and they made a movie. But I do think that from a story perspective and a script perspective, I think if this had been done with a little bit more professional story structuring involved, and a whole lot more money in the budget, there's a good fucking movie here, right? Like a legitimate, yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an opinion.
No, well, I mean, look, if you really break it down, I mean, ultimately what we have here is basically like a Stephen King story, right? Like, this is very much that kind of, like people up in the snowy mountain, woods, small town America. Again, as we mentioned, they suggest there might be a connection to some kind of Native American demonology, like they say.
We can't just gloss over you comparing this to Stephen King, a filmmaker and author I actually enjoy, when this is more like Oh, I mean, if you gave Tommy Wiseau a lot of money, The Room could have been good. There's a good story there.
Look,
Like, no.
what I'm doing is I'm comparing this to Stephen King, not in quality but in form.
I'm still upset that you would ever even mention Mr. King's name in this episode. How dare you?
It's a thought I had while watching this movie. Was
no more thoughts.
This isn't really so different from this isn't so different from Dreamcatcher, right? This isn't.
Wow.
But look, it's a thought I had. Well, why? I mean, it's also it's so
Continue
ridiculous.
telling us your wrong thoughts, if you will, good sir.
So it's and also like again, yes, the claymation effects are real, real. Oh man, they are real amateur. Somebody read a magazine article that kind of briefly explained how stop motion animation works, and this guy decided he could be Ray Harryhausen, and it's but also like there's a charm in it for me. Like there's such a beautiful like punk rock just ambition of just like we're just gonna go out and have fun and be ridiculous, and we know what it's gonna look like, but we're gonna make a movie because that's gonna be fucking awesome. And it just drips with that spirit to me. I do think I feel like when I saw that totem pole with the skeletal corpse on it, my immediate thought was a reference back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There are we have to talk about how as you mentioned there. Which one is the Winterbeast, Michelle? Do you have a guess?
I think it's the lodge man who loves the song "What Can the Matter Be," which, by the way, fucking love that scene. That scene I have watched a couple times on YouTube. His expressions are great. Best part of the movie, showstopper. Give that man all of the awards. I loved him singing to "What Can the Matter Be."
Yeah, well, and I was just gonna say, like, the movie, it's that absurd B indie movie sort of thing, right? Like, I'm not ridiculous, right? I know what this movie is, but it was just so goddamn fun, and there's just so much spirit here that I really appreciated. Another immediate thought I had, because that sequence with "What Can the Matter Be" and leading into it, you see that dude in that crazy red plaid jacket, and then you have the lady's corpse all like neck sliced and on display in a weird pose, which my immediate thought was, oh, he's all posed up like what Michael Myers did with the corpses in Halloween. Like I had these touchstone reference moments from that. I'm not saying they reference these things deliberately. I'm saying I see it in that, like, I see the ambition there and what this could have been with a little bit more professional, experienced approach. But that sequence, when he first of all he starts fingering that woman's neck hole in a very grotesque, fucked up kind of way, and then he puts that mask on, the clown mask, and there's all those corpses around, which, again, references to Halloween with the mask, and then more like Psycho with the corpses there. Like this is a movie that was clearly made by somebody who had seen a lot of stuff and was trying to do something, with some sort of semblance of that. Look, I'll be honest with you. Yes, some of the claymation here is terrible. I thought some of it was not significantly worse than a lot of what we see in a movie like the original Evil Dead.
I actually would like to say the claymation was not bad. It was just confusing. It was not bad claymation, but if you had just thrown like a painting of Van Gogh into the middle of this movie for a minute, it's not a bad painting, but I am very confused by it.
Okay, so I've gone off on a tirade here about everything I love about this movie and how I feel like
Ooh.
there might be touchstones to actually really significant stuff here. It's your turn, man. I'm tagging in. Go ahead and just let loose on your thoughts on this movie.
Let loose. I am very confused by this movie. Part of what I enjoyed about it was that I was able to watch it and say, I know why this scene played out the way that it did, because I would never say that I have made films or I was a filmmaker or anything, but I have done video editing as a fun pastime for free projects since I was in high school. It's the thing that I like the most, and I have directed a few things, nothing that will ever be released, just like fun videos with my friends. So watching some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, the editor at this point was trying to put these two scenes together, but he didn't have a way to cut from the previous one without making it a weird jump cut, because the camera only films from one angle for like 90% of this. And so they were stuck with just the one shot, no second camera to move over to. So that's why we get so many close-ups of nudie magazines and a deck of cards with naked ladies on it. Also, he opens a box at one point and there's a fucking dildo in the box.
Just a wooden dick just laying there, and they never address it. It never comes back again. Just there, because he's talking about like that tooth that's supposed to be some sort of fossil tooth. And there's just what appears to be either a rubber or I thought maybe even a wooden dick just laying there in the box every time they cut to it. And
I did not realize they were talking about a tooth in the box. So when they open the box and they don't react, they're like, wow, is this from... And I was like, you're talking about it? This movie just, it feels like at some point they went, this is funny, and the editor had fun with it, because I don't think there was a dick in the box when they were filming. So those kind of things, I'm like, I think by the time that they got to editing, he's like, I don't have a way to cut between these. These people are going to have a lot of nudie magazines, a deck of cards, a dildo. That all seems like scenes that were filmed later so that the editor had something to put in there. The cold open of the sheriff or whoever just being in the attic and being like, Tello, and Tello was like, and then there's a claymation thing, and then the sheriff just screams for 3 minutes, and then we're just back at the Rangers Lodge, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I don't know who those people are. It was such a cold open, and I felt freezing in the cold open.
Okay, but genuinely though,
yes.
you didn't find that in then the immediate next scene when it's hilarious that I can't remember any of these characters' names with how much I love this movie, but you have like the main ranger guy who was two, at least maybe even three different actors. And then you have the guy who wears sunglasses inside and at night, and he's the cool guy who's showing everybody the nudie magazines. And then there's that random dude that's there with him that he's having the conversation with, who asks him if he's gay at one point. But there's this... you didn't feel that scene made it like... Because I thought that scene made it pretty clear quickly that what's going on here is... These guys are...
I 100% knew when we got to that scene.
Sure.
Opening the movie like that is such a, we'll go with bold choice that I did not agree with.
Oh.
There was no build-up immediate, like a minute in, and the sheriff is dead? Or whatever he is, like clearly like...
One of the Rangers.
We haven't even had a chance to, and we haven't figured out, like, I know that that's an attic because I know how houses look. But we didn't have any buildup of, like, him opening a front door, looking around. He's in the attic now looking for this guy. There's none of, like, that traditional buildup in B footage that you would expect. It's just right in the action. It's insanity.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely, shall we say, a very condensed version the kind of opening you get again in a movie like Halloween, where there is this kind, but that that's more of like 5 minutes and it's sort of dragged out and there's a whole dynamic to it. This is
I would have like 30 seconds of foreplay.
I was gonna say this is just like, oh hi, here's the movie. Here's this guy whose face is half melted. Now there's this weird claymation monster in the room. Now we're out in the woods and this guy's got some sort of weird skull shoving through his chest. And now a dude I thought for a moment was maybe waking up from a dream, and I think they talk about that later. No, they confirm that later on, but I thought maybe all that stuff that we had just seen was supposed to be his dream, which was maybe why it was so chaotic. But no, I could definitely see how that would be disorienting. But
I could see how Winterbeast could be disorienting.
We gotta talk about the assorted.
Wait! You said I got to say a couple.
Go
things.
ahead. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right.
I really only have one more thing to point out.
Oh no! Please say whatever you would like.
No. But, like, the dildo was written in huge letters on my page, and there's not a lot of comprehensive thoughts down here. But I do have to say, I laughed so fucking hard near the beginning of the movie, and I still don't know why it happened, but they're in the lodge, and then suddenly a fight breaks out so abruptly and so aggressively, and they're knocking shit everywhere, and I have watched it twice because that's where I paused and went, I am missing something, and I still don't fully know what got those two men that upset that quickly. That was like two beta fish introduced to the same tank and just going at it. I was like, why are they so mad?
One of them said the wrong thing to the other, and I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it does happen so quickly, and it's so aggressive.
God, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I laughed so hard.
My favorite part about this movie, first of all, is they should teach this movie in film schools in a class called, and this is the only movie you need to show, and it's like a 1-day seminar on this is why you need a continuity editor. This is because holy shit, like there are entire sequences in this movie, entire conversations that are very clearly shot in two entirely different locations, probably separate days. The editing is like, it's about as good as the editing we got when we would use 2 VCRs to edit home videos back in the 90s. It's just
I never had to do that. What's a VCR?
Oh god, it was it's just but
God, editing videos on VCRs, that sounds awful. I've never heard of that legitimately, not even like making a joke about age. That
you
awful.
would
I can't even imagine.
You would have 2 different VCRs connected to a TV, and you would record the section you want from the source tape onto the record tape, and then you would take out the source tape and put in the different source tape or fast forward to the next thing you want.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it was.
That sounds shitty.
Oh, it was terrible.
Thank
it was
God
absolutely
for the
terrible.
internet.
But
oh my God. Garbage.
Yeah, it was.
I bet that's how this movie was made. I bet this was made on 2 VCRs. At least part of it. This seems like a VCR movie.
It had been suggested, I guess, at a couple of times that the movie was shot on VHS. It's very clearly 8mm and 16mm film. I think that's pretty obvious, but no, like I love how in that super, because that sequence with the mask and the corpses, and when he's weirdly fondling that neck wound on that dead lady, like that's some like imagine that scene in a much more slickly produced, experienced professional movie. That's creepy as fuck, right?
I legitimately think that is a very good horror scene.
Yeah.
And I already have planned pranks where I'm going to tell friends, you have to see this classic horror movie I just learned about. I'm going to send them that scene and tell them, wow, it's just like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You have to check out. It's so good. And then just wait for the messages to come in and see.
Tell him it's like Stephen King on acid.
Oh my God. Well, Stephen King was on acid.
Well,
he was on a lot of drugs.
He did a lot of just big piles of cocaine. I understand, but
the
anyway.
best kind. Just if you're gonna have Coca-Cola, have it in a pile.
I guess this movie was at one time, because we got to talk about, as you mentioned, the movie's called Winterbeast, but there appear to be 5 or 6 different beasts in this fucking movie. And then the movie also, I guess, was there was an earlier version of it that was originally titled "It Came from Lone Peak," but again, which one? Because there are so many different. Which was your favorite of all the beasts, Michelle? Do you want to try and run down a list of the different beasts?
Okay, so we obviously have the claymation guy at the very beginning.
Yep.
Honestly, it's not even a beast, but I really like the prosthetic effects within that scene of Tello peeling his skin off. That was legitimately very good.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a beast, I just have to give it like an honorable mention. I was like, wow, this is a bad movie, but the prosthetics are actually kind of good.
Yeah,
it's made by some people who are not the worst. I know, but like as a whole, what the fuck did I watch? And then we've got the skull coming out of the guy, if we want to consider that skull part of a beast.
Well, as you remember later on, they show that scene in more detail with a couple of more shots, and it's actually
about it.
like a weird skull and spine snake that just crawls over his throat.
Yeah, we've got the totem pole.
Yep. That comes alive and walks around all claymation style.
Yeah. And then
which
the
again,
last,
look, it's not Mad God, right? It's not. But it's not bad, right? Like it was. I've seen much worse. I don't know. I thought it had some charm, and I really enjoyed how ridiculous this movie was.
Your 5-skull movie. I've seen worse.
It's a 5-skull experience, Michelle.
I know. I don't even know how to describe the monster that I'm thinking of, so I'm just quickly panning through the movie to see if I can find it. But it is the one that's in the woods, where it's just watching his elongated face screaming for a very, very long time. It is claymation. I have no idea when it happens in the movie. Is it within 10 minutes? Is it during the end credits? I have no idea. I have watched the ending twice, paying full attention. I still have no idea how this ends.
Are you talking about the one that is kind of going crazy because that guy and that lady are in the room and they start hearing all this roaring, and then there's a guy climbing down the side of a rock or something, and there's like this giant thing with multiple arms? Is that the one you're talking about?
I just remembered that we did not tell people the plot of this movie, and you know
it
what?
Doesn't
That's
matter.
fine.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, I'll find it. I'll send it to you. But that guy, if people know who I'm talking about, he's just screaming for a very, very long time. It is a very long shot of this claymation long head screaming.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that might be the creature that, if you go to the Shudder website,
with the skull.
I think it might be. I think that picture that they use on the Shudder website to promote this is a very stylized and much more detailed version of that monster you're thinking of.
Yeah. Oh, there's also a blue alien.
Yep.
Mummy.
And then there's a weird red devil demon thing.
Yep.
And a Ray Harryhausen style dinosaur chicken.
I forgot about the dinosaur chicken.
Oh, dude, the dinosaur chicken just rocks that house while cool guy with the glasses is there.
I love cool guy with the glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this movie is just full of little things that I find so fucking funny, but I know were not comedic moments. And that's why it's hard to, it broke my brain trying to figure out a number. So 2 is just, I'm never going to think about it again. I'm not going to let it keep me up at night. I absolutely will. I'm going to think about this a lot, as much as I think about how hosts deserve 5 skulls. It's the biggest regret of my life. But the thing I think about is the ranger showing up in the very beginning. This is just ingrained in my brain because I watched it twice and I still don't know what the fuck was going on. I mean, I did. I obviously did, but like, it's just so like, I was not expecting it. And then he goes to interrogate the girl in the darkest fucking room ever.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't turn on any lights. That's not making her feel comfortable. And then he comes back out to continue his conversation with the not cool guy, and he just very aggressively puts his foot up on the chair to start the conversation. And I'm like, yes, that's a very natural pose. I'm not convinced that those were people. Like, these were aliens pretending to be people, and they're like, why, hello there, fellow human. I also like nudie magazines. Please look at these breasts on this woman.
One of my
Felt like.
One of my favorite little flubs over the course of this movie is during that sequence you talked about when they first go out to the Wild Goose Lodge and that fight breaks out just out of nowhere. Right at the end of the fight sequence, the waiter in the blue plaid flannel walks off screen because he's standing there talking to Cool Sunglasses guy when the fight breaks out. And that waiter kind of stumbles off screen. Oh, there's a moment right before that where he's taking the empty bottles away, and Cool Sunglasses guy cracks, must have been an ad lib on him, because dude just audibly breaks and laughs at the line and then walks away. But then you see him fall to the ground in the ruckus as he walks off screen in that shot. And then immediately it cuts to a shot of the creepy old guy who runs the Wild Goose Lodge, and blue plaid flannel waiter is standing right fucking next to him.
That same, it might be the same exchange. I don't recall, but this movie just kept reminding me of how they made it wrong. And one of those things was that, like, usually if somebody's an amateur filmmaker, they're going to be like, okay, I need to film this scene. Let's just put the camera in a place so that you can see what's going on. And then they do their dialogue, and then they just like take the camera and they go elsewhere, and they just prop it up somewhere, and it doesn't matter how it's framed, what it looks like, just as long as you can see what's happening. And that is fine. They're not making any choices, any artistic direction with it. But then this movie, for some reason, some of these shots are clearly done from like a ladder, from like way too high above, just during conversations. And in that lodge, there is one where I'm like, were you standing on the stairs? And the fact that that's an active choice that was made, it was not somebody saying, oh, I just need to set up the camera and get this shot, which is clearly what they do at the entire beginning in the ranger station. They never move the camera. This one, they're like, oh, I'm learning, and I know now that I have to have a perspective.
Well,
and so we are going to be God looking down on these people from heaven.
I'd be willing to bet that if you watched through this, you could probably gauge, because, you know, like they say, the movie, according to Vinegar Syndrome, who released the film in this beautiful transfer version that Shudder has available for streaming, they released it as part of their first homegrown horror 3-title box set. The movie was made over more than half a decade, like with the actual production, and I've heard that half a decade was like late 70s to early 80s, and then the footage just kind of sat around for a while, and it was finished in like 87 to 89, and then finally got released in like 92. But it definitely has that feeling of just this real, like, it's just so fucking cobbled together. It's hilarious. Like, the sequence where the creepy old dude is fondling the neck wound on the dead lady is very obviously two completely different shots. Like, that guy is not there. That is not his hand. He's just reaching off screen and making weird faces, and then it cuts to an arm reaching in from off screen, and just really grotesque grotesquely, viciously kind of fingering that neck wound in a way that's really vile. And it just was like, what the
I had
fuck?
a pure it was like a light switched either on or off during that moment, because I was like, oh, now we're gonna get like him creepily rubbing this dead woman, and I'm like, oh, of course. But then when I realized his fingers were going under the skin flap, I went like, whoa, like I felt it where I'm just like, oh no, why did you? I didn't even notice there was a skin flap there until his fingers were in it.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Ugh.
It's fucked up. Ugh.
I don't know what I watched.
I love that the big red devil horned demon that they fight at the end of the movie. It looks straight out of like the $6 Million Man or the old Incredible Hulk TV show. Just the way they shoot it from all these low angles. And they have these sort of like almost like half slow motion shots where it looks like it's just lumbering and shit. Like it's clearly just a knockoff of those sorts of things. I just had so much. God, and how it ends, by the way, Michelle, if I understand correctly, is they kill off at least some and either, I don't know, drive away or maybe just get away from some of the other beasties that they're fighting, and they shut down the Wild Goose Lodge so nobody else dies.
Yeah, I wish they had some dialogue during that part, so I would have paid attention. Because seriously, the music it goes on and on. It's like on a loop, and it put me into a trance. I just zoned out.
Here's the other thing I really appreciate about this, because you're right, there is a lot of absurdity here, but you talked about like there being comedic elements that you don't think were necessarily meant to be. And I'm not so sure. Like, I feel like there are a couple of things in here that happen that
like a dick in a box?
Yeah, make it very clear to me that these guys know what they're making here, right? They understand. One of them, it is very much, unfortunately, tied into some of the dated Native American stereotypes that's going on here. But there is one sequence where the two characters, the sheriff and the one other guy, are talking about that part of the backstory here for the first time, and they're standing right in front of a sign for a state park, and the name of that state park on the sign is Indian Legend State Park. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? And then there's after they defeat the Red Devil Demon at the end, there's that weird sequence where they like trot off arm in arm like best buddies, like they're on the Andy Griffith Show or some shit. Like, this reminded me so much of this reminded me a lot of a movie like Herschel Gordon Lewis 2000 Maniacs, where it's very clearly just none of these people, like, this is the small town, middle of nowhere summer stock theater version of a horror movie. And, there's a little bit, like, you can definitely tell who the guys were who were, like, the local stars or whatever, but it's just so much fun. It's so ridiculous. I enjoyed everything about this experience. I think if you love, this is definitive classic trash cinema, because it has that spirit. It's being made with so much love and ridiculousness, and I felt that through the whole thing.
I feel like they did attempt to make a real horror movie at the start.
Yeah.
But around year 4, they went, fuck it.
That could be, that could be. They're just
but they shot out of order as you're supposed to. Unless maybe they didn't. They edited out of order, but like I bet it opened initially. I've been thinking a lot about this movie. I bet it initially opened in that lodge and it was just one unbreaking shot of 10 minutes of dialogue like you would see in a play. And then they went back and they're like, okay, now we got to shoot the sheriff interrogating the girl. And then they went, oh shit, we have to have that playing at the same time. How do we even do that?
Here's something that I still don't understand, and this is something that I thought for sure there was going to be more to it, and then just nothing happens. But so like we talk about the totem pole monster and how when they go after it's turned back just into a totem pole, it's got that picked over skeletal corpse on it now, which. That was the lady who gets her business out on the camera early in the movie, wasn't it? Like,
yes,
wasn't that the idea
of course,
there?
So many boobs in this movie.
Right. Well, weirdly enough, those are the only two. Like, there's a lot of filming of like still photos of boobs in this movie, but there's
so many boobs.
But here's the thing. So that lady takes her shirt off, and then the totem pole monster shows up and kills her, and that's who is the skeleton on the totem pole later. But then, isn't that the same lady who comes back and hangs out with that dude when all of a sudden they hear the screeching monsters outside?
I thought it was. My husband did not think it was. Yes, I did make him watch this with me. I was like, didn't she just die?
Right, and then I was like,
tell.
Is there like this going to be some sort of like she's possessed like by a Winterbeast or something? But then just nothing happens. It's just, I don't know. But at
one point it was probably a thing, and then they forgot until they went to edit, and they went, no one will notice that she's alive again.
This is just the most delicious trash. I loved every bit of this, and I will delight in. Again, you have to know who the people are that are gonna love it, but I think it'll be pretty easy to figure out and share it with all of them that you can, because this was so goddamn much fun.
This was basically a fun dog hot dog on white bread, where it's not good, but it's better than starving.
Lots of ketchup.
Lots of ketchup. Yeah. I really like white bread hot dogs. I do that. I don't even buy hot dog buns because you don't get the same amount. I just like them on white bread, and apparently that makes me a psycho. That's where the line is drawn for a lot of people.
That doesn't make you a psycho, Michelle. That makes you, much like me, somebody who grew up as we call it, poor folks. Poor white folks. We
had a floor in our house that you could see the dirt outside.
You're gonna tell me that you buy specific special bread that's only to be used for hot dogs.
I'm never going to eat that many hot dogs. There's not like a 2-pack of hot dogs.
Right. I buy the bread that can serve to wrap a hot dog. You can put a hamburger in between a couple of slices. I buy the utility player awesome bread and use it for whatever I need. And I'm the weird one. You have hot dog only bread. What the fuck?
I am truly upset that they do not have 1 or 2 packs of hot dog buns. I feel like that's discriminatory because they're like, oh, you're eating hot dogs? Clearly you're with your friends at a cookout, right? You're not just eating hot dogs alone that you microwave because they're a quick thing that you can eat in the middle of the day when you're trying to get your work done, but you just remember that you haven't eaten for 16 hours.
Right. Also, side note, if you come to a cookout at my house, you're going to get white bread for your hot dogs and your hamburgers. And if you don't like it, you can go to somebody else's fucking cookout.
That sounds like a really good prank that I want to play on people. Just like have like all the accoutrement, all the different toppings they could possibly want. Ketchup, pickles, various types of pickles.
Your only option bread for wrapping it is like sliced white bread.
Well,
greatest barbecue ever. So
Winterbeast with Wonder Bread.
Guys, like I said, if you are into this kind of thing, this is a beautiful, fun experience, and you're going to love it. If you're not, it's probably not for you, as we can see from the
It's better than starving.
Right. It's it's better than starving. You can say that again. There's just a dick in the box. What? What the? There's just a dick in the box, and they
I hate
never.
when that happens.
They never fucking address it. It's so great. Oh God! Well, anyway.
I got nothing else to add. I just keep thinking of the dick in the box.
This is this is a good time. We probably should get this all wrapped up. Shout out again to Mr. Derek Haugen for suggesting we watch Winterbeast. I very much appreciate.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it.
Oh God, I was gonna do the whole big wrap up, but then I remembered I recorded that thing. So just fucking say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media, your home for all of today's Rat Factoryist podcasts. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of We Watch Shudder are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Rat Factory Media. But wait, aren't Rat Factory Media and We Watch Shudder the same people? Shut your cake hole, Charlie. Nobody asked you. We Watch Shudder is available free on all major podcast platforms, and the easiest way to support We Watch Shudder is also free. Just leave a rating and review on your platform of choice. Merge your consciousness with ours on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're at We Watch Shudder on all those social media platforms. Or find us the old-fashioned way, on the web at wewatchshudder.com or by email at mail@wewatchshudder.com. Heck, you can even leave us a voicemail at 701-566-9510. No, seriously, 701-566-9510. Try it if you dare.